I recently read through Songs of Chaos by Michael R. Miller. We're going to be making a quick review here. Well, I say quick, but I kind of don't actually have any idea how long it's going to take me. I'm going to do a quick general overview before I kind of get into the individual books and how I felt about them as I read. And so to start it off, there's no sex scenes, there's no cussing, there's violence, but there's minimal gore. So if any of those things are off-putting to you and you don't want to read them, they're not in this books, so you don't have to worry about that. I like to throw that out there in case you are interested in buying books that I review, and I don't want you to be surprised by anything like that. So I like to throw that out front in case any of that bothers you. So to get into it, Songs of Chaos is about a boy and his dragon and their fight against kind of bug zombies, in all honesty, and him kind of going against the grain in terms of culture and how it affects the entire world, and just kind of the fight against evil. As far as tropes goes, it's pretty normal, but there's nothing wrong with that if you do a good job with it. As a whole, I give the series kind of a 3 out of 5. I'd say Michael R. Miller's strong suits is in his endings of his books, and which is why I kind of feel as though the books are a little longer than they need to be, especially knowing that this is a 5-book series, and these are not thin books. It's kind of a chunk to read, especially since it's supposed to be middle grade, I believe is what he told me. And so they're kind of long. They feel unnecessarily long when getting into these, but it's not the worst thing. They're still enjoyable. They're still good. If you're a dragon person, which there's tons of dragon books out there, these are definitely ones to read. The magic system is really enjoyable, super in-depth. You can tell he's put a lot of effort into his world building and to his magic system and how he wants to flesh it out as the series progresses. And so you get the sense of where he wants to take things with book 4 and 5, and which is really, really nice. Again, as a whole, I would give it a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy them all, but I have specific reasons why I liked each one individually. So we're going to get into the more nitty-gritties of each book. Ascendant, the first one, it's the shortest of the 3. And as far as the story goes from each book, I think the first one hands down has the best story out of all 3. You could definitely tell that he's still working out some kinks in terms of characters. There's some kind of cringy scenes when he has certain things. And that's why when I was reading this book, I was really excited to get on to book 2 and see how he improved. But by far, this book had great pacing, had a great storyline, and it was pretty much near the beginning really fun to read. And I kind of blew through it because it was gripping. It was good. Had a great story, had a lot to learn as you went through it, and you didn't feel like it was dragging along at all. And that's why I felt like I was super excited to get into book 2, because this first one had some things where I was like, okay, you could improve your writing here and there, but as an overall, the story was really good. And that's why I was excited to get on to book 2. As a whole, I'd probably give Ascendant the highest rating of all 3 individually, closer to 3.5, maybe 3.7 or something like that if you wanted to get very specific on your star rating. It's probably my favorite of the 3, and it's the shortest, which made it the easiest to read. I have nothing against long books, but if they're unnecessarily long, that's where I have my qualms, and that's where we get into book 2. This book is 100 pages longer than the first one, and it adds several POVs to the story as a whole, which, if I'm being honest, it just felt unnecessary. I can understand why he put these POVs in there. I understand where he was going with things, but it kind of dragged the pace of the book down unnecessarily. But the writing improved greatly from book 1 to book 2. The thing that I was mostly looking forward to from book 1 to 2 was there. He improved in his writing. There was little to no cringy scenes. The characters as a whole felt better. The writing felt better. Everything about it felt better except for the pacing. It's 100 pages longer, and it's kind of an unnecessary 100 pages. It was a bit of a slog to get through at times, and that's why I was a little disappointed in book 2, because book 1's story was so good. It had such good pacing. I was enjoying it. I read through it quickly, and to be honest, it took to about halfway in Unbound before I felt the same way about the story as I did with Ascendant. So in terms of the writing, it was better, but in terms of the story, it seemed to take a half a step backwards. And it's 100 pages longer, which just took longer to get through, and maybe that's where my feelings stem from through this. By no means is it a bad book, but I would give it the lower end of the ratings between the three. It was my least favorite of the three. And that's probably because I was looking for the pacing that he had in book one. You're learning things all the time. Things are happening pretty consistently. I understand you can't write everything that way, but I guess I was just kind of looking forward to another version of Ascendant, just slightly longer, but it ended up being a little unnecessarily longer. And it added POVs, and maybe that's where it kind of slowed down. Still, it was good, and I was excited to move on to book three. Now, this page is another 100 pages longer than book two, making it about 200 pages longer than the first one. And as a whole, he fixed the story. His writing, again, got improved from book two to book three. So in terms of the writing, we are vastly better than the first one. And the story, at least paced better than the second one. Not quite as good as the first one, in my opinion, because again, you have so many POVs. And honestly, my biggest qualm with this last one, it was really good. I enjoyed everything, but it took a little while before you understood where he was going with on the ending. It took longer than the other ones when there was a clear end goal in sight, what these characters are looking forward to, what they're working towards in the book. This one is a little more wishy-washy on that, so the direction of it felt a little off. But my least favorite thing about this entire book is the random POVs that were kind of unnecessary scattered throughout the book. Again, I enjoyed the story as a whole, and I enjoyed the book. And if you like dragons, I definitely recommend it. There are cool things in this world. There's a cool magic system. But my biggest issue is it just seems like there's a lot of unnecessary chapters thrown throughout, and it feels like he hasn't quite grasped the concept of show don't tell. So there's several instances where it's like, it'd be more impactful, I would care more about X event or X character if you weren't just immediately showing me the POV or previously showed me the POV of what just happened. You never learn of things exclusively through the main character's point of view. You're learning it from X person's point of view, and then you learn it through the character's point of view a second time. I don't know if that made any sense, but it's like X event happened over there and our main character's over here, and so we're going to throw a random chapter of that event so that you know what's going on, and then we're going to tell the main character about it. And it just seemed unnecessary adding to the book to make it longer. It seemed longer for longer's sake and not much else. I have nothing against long books, but if it's unnecessary, it just slows it down. And to be honest, I personally love reading short, quick, really good stories. Like if he broke each one of these in half and made them faster, I'd probably consume them quicker because they're shorter books. I understand that's not always possible based on the way that you're formatting your books and the formatting of your story as a whole, but still, again, the series is good. I did enjoy it. I am looking forward to book four. I just hope that he takes some lessons from book 2 and 3 specifically on the size of them and maybe trims them down a little and cuts out some unnecessary point of views, because if you hear about the same thing 4 times from 4 different characters' perspectives, it's really hard to care about certain things when you're just getting bombarded with the same information. With that being said, I did enjoy these books. They are long, and I'm kind of hoping book 4 is closer to Unbound size and not another 100 pages. Because again, they each get 100 pages longer as you go. And in some ways it felt necessary, but in others it didn't. It would be really interesting if he forced himself to only write the entire series from one POV, maybe 2, instead of consistently adding in more and more POVs. It just, having the POVs of things that happened kind of dampens the impact when it's from a character that you're not invested in at all. That being said, I enjoyed these books. I'm looking forward to book 4. If you like dragons, go ahead and pick them up because they're worth it, to be honest. They are good, but they are long, so I wouldn't take all 3 in a row like I did. I'd take them, take your time. Go at them one at a time and you'll probably enjoy them more. That being said, get out there and read, and thanks for watching.